don't think you can hoop.
What?
I
Definitely can't hoop. Well, I can hoop. I'm probably still better than you at hooping as well. But I'm definitely
You ain't better than me in nothing.
Darts.
And talking, that's it.
Talking?
Cause you talk a good game. You ain't
Darts.
better than me in nothing.
Darts.
Nothing.
Darts.
Nothing.
Darts.
Today.
You're very nervous today. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I've been here.
Your energy's all off.
I've been here.
I'm worried about you on Saturday.
Last time I
don't think you're taking this fight right.
I'm 3-0 against you, sir.
Boxing pros have warned Terence Crawford not to fight Israil Madrimov. Promoter Eddie Hearn envisions a knockout triumph for Israil Madrimov when he faces Crawford in their upcoming bout. Hearn believes this bout is the catalyst that will propel Israil Madrimov to stardom, envisioning him as a future superstar following a victory over Crawford in what he sees as a pivotal match. Eddie Hearn on X: he's ready to knock out Terence Crawford in Los Angeles. This is the fight that turns Israil Madrimov into a superstar. If Madrimov at 29 manages to overcome Crawford, it would send ripples through the boxing world. Most fans consider Crawford invincible, with some even speculating that he might soon step up to super middleweight to challenge Canelo Alvarez. In early 2025, Israil Madrimov boasts both the power and flair to trouble Crawford, but he falls short in stringing together the combinations necessary to outshine the Nebraska native. Relying on isolated strikes won't be enough to best Crawford. If Israil Madrimov had the knockout power of legendary punchers like Julian Jackson, his one-punch ability would change the game entirely, but he's not built like that. With such explosive power, his inability to string together combinations against Crawford wouldn't be an issue. He'd land a decisive blow sooner or later. Canelo's recent performance against the rather unremarkable Mongia casts doubt on his ability to fend off Crawford before considering a showdown with Canelo. Crawford needs to first prove himself against Israil Madrimov on August 3rd. This bout will serve as a crucial litmus test to gauge if Crawford can effectively transition to 168 lobes for the challenge ahead. Should Crawford overcome both Israil Madrimov and Canelo, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh will need to create a new challenge for him. The next step could see Crawford advancing to the 175-pound division to face formidable opponents like BBV Dmitry Bivol and David Benovitz. Returning to the 154 PB division would seem futile if Crawford emerges triumphant against Canelo. Of course they have plans, and they're thinking ahead of what's going to happen next. I have plans too. My plans are to get the victory on August 3rd, said Israil Madrimov to Fight Hype, discussing his thoughts on Crawford. Israil Madrimov is irked by Crawford's apparent disregard for him as he sets his sights on a bout with Canelo. However, this shift in focus only reassures Israil Madrimov of Crawford's confidence in his own victory. Now it's up to Madrimov to demonstrate to the 36-year-old Crawford that he's made a grave mistake in underestimating him. I'm concentrating on this fight against Terence Crawford. I don't think about anything else. I'm there to win the fight, and after the fight we can talk about everything else, said Madrimov. Is helping out Terence Crawford may help him, but maybe not. We'll see in the ring, said Israil Madrimov. About Andre Ward assisting Crawford with sparring, he added, if it's something that motivates him and helps him, good for him. Bout is helping me prepare for the fight. Crawford and Andre Ward sparred, but it's not a huge deal because Crawford's technique isn't similar to Israil Madrimov, and he didn't look very fit in the videos of them working out. We choose our path. His path was in professional boxing, and my path was in amateur boxing, said Madrimov, explaining why he only has 11 fights as a pro compared to Crawford's 40. He added, so I went on to win multiple world titles as an amateur. Israil Madrimov's extensive amateur career probably gives him an edge over Crawford's professional experience. While Israil Madrimov has squared off against numerous top-tier opponents in the amateur ranks, Crawford's pro res includes several bouts with lesser-known fighters, both at the beginning and later in his career. Israil Madrimov said, once we got into the pros, we went the hard way. We chose the hard path, with all 10 fights being tough fights. 6 of them were title eliminators, and all of them were tough, so stiff competition. Yes, he's more known, but that's my opportunity. Former WBC interim junior middleweight champ Brian Mendoza is taking a stand against the prevailing skepticism from oddsmakers and fans who doubt Israil Madrimov's ability to defend his WBA junior middleweight title against Terence Crawford. Mendoza believes it's a miscalculation to think Crawford will easily handle Madrimov, stepping up to 154 lobes and facing a formidable puncher like Madrimov could pose a significant challenge for Crawford with no experience at this weight class and unaccustomed to the sheer power of Madrimov. Madramov's punches, Crawford might find himself in a difficult position. The odds makers are probably still leaning on Crawford's performance from his last bout with Errol Spence a year back, expecting a similar outcome against Israil Madrimov. However, Israil Madrimov lacks Spence's renown and hasn't accomplished as much in his career. It's common for fans and the media to overlook fighters who aren't frequently in the spotlight. If Crawford hasn't lost a step since his last bout a year ago, and his power translates well to the 154 pounds division, he could emerge victorious. On the other hand, Israil Madrimov remains a mystery to American audiences as his bouts haven't been featured on network TV. The U.S. Mendoza expressed that while he does believe in Crawford's capabilities, he feels Israil Madrimov is being underestimated. He pointed out that the odds are surprisingly high and shouldn't be so skewed. Mendoza emphasized that Israil Madrimov is a very strong fighter who is determined to defend his title, which Crawford will have to earn by taking it from him.
I do think so, but Madrimov, I think they're writing him off a little too much. I think the odds are, like something crazy. I don't think the odds should be that far out there. Madrimov is a very strong fighter. He's coming forward. He's gonna come, to defend his title. He already has that title. That's something Crawford's really gonna have to take from him.
Madov's formidable punching power, dynamic striking, youthful energy, and eccentric style will present a formidable challenge for Crawford. If Crawford expects to face a fighter like Errol Spence, he might be in for a rude awakening. On August 3rd, Mendoza said that while he leans towards Crawford, he doesn't understand why people are counting out Israil Madrimov to such an extent. He believes the fight will be very difficult, drawing a comparison to the challenge posed by the Spence fight.
So I do lean towards Crawford, but I don't see why people are counting Madrimov out to that extent, because I think it's going to be very different from the Spence fight.
Many dismiss Israil Madrimov simply because he's flown under the radar for most fans who haven't witnessed his fights firsthand. He also hasn't yet squared off against opponents of Crawford's caliber, leaving him relatively unknown in the eyes of many. They've seen Crawford in action numerous times before and have always been impressed by his performance. However, Crawford has yet to face someone with Madov's skill level, which could pose a challenge, especially considering Crawford's age and a 13-month layoff. Mendoza commented on Madov's tendency to drop his lead hand during fights, stating that it's a habit he has developed over the years. He noted that despite Madov's intentions to take the fight seriously and keep his hand up, breaking such a long-standing habit is challenging.
It's a habit that you've created. So even though you can say, like, all right, I'm going to take it serious, I'm not going to drop my hands, it's a habit you've been creating for years.
Madov's tendency to keep his lead hand low might not be his main concern when facing Crawford. His bigger challenge could come from Crawford's agility, sharp jab, and pinpoint accuracy. He's elusive and tough to land a punch on while he's in motion, and only when Crawford plants his feet does he become vulnerable. Crawford frequently engages his opponents within striking range by clinching them and then using his wrestling skills to gain the upper hand. Fighters who aren't prepared for Crawford's grappling tactics will find themselves at a distinct disadvantage. Mendoza expressed hope that Israil Madrimov is addressing his tendency to drop his lead hand, recognizing the high caliber of his current opponent and showing respect for Crawford's skills. He emphasized that he fully expects Madov to be working on correcting this habit, as it is something Crawford would quickly exploit.
For years. So those are things hopefully he's working on, because I guarantee you he knows the caliber of fighter that he's in there with right now, and that he's respecting it. So I would fully hope, that he's working on stuff like that, because that's something Crawford will take advantage of.
Madov typically keeps his lead hand low while maneuvering on the outside. Once he's in striking distance, he raises his hands and employs clever angles to dodge incoming blows. His footwork mirrors Lomachenko, making him a challenging target to hit. Madov's dynamic mobility, raw power, youthful energy, and precision shots might pose significant challenges for Crawford. This matchup could serve as a stark reality check for Crawford as he faces an opponent he might struggle to overcome. On Saturday, we'll soon discover how Crawford handles the explosive force of the division's hardest hitter. Israil Madrimov may not have the quickest hands, but his G-light power turns him into a daunting challenge for anyone in his path. Many are not optimistic about Crawford's chances in this matchup. He's battling numerous challenges, with his advancing age being a significant one as he approaches 37. This September, the physical toll of basking in the limelight after his monumental victory over Errol Spence in July 2023 has become evident. Crawford Crawford can't afford to face Israil Madrimov head-on and engage in a brawl as he did with his recent 147 PB opponents without risking significant damage. The clinching and grappling techniques Crawford relies on to neutralize power punchers are unlikely to be effective against Madrimov, who is well-versed in handling fighters. With those tactics, Crawford's annual emergence from his den could come back to haunt him this Saturday night. The Omaha, Nebraska fighter may find that stepping into the 154 pounds weight class, one he's not physically built for, could be his undoing. Crawford's situation is very different from that of smaller, older, and past their prime opponents in the lower weight classes. When Crawford experiences Madov's GGG-like power firsthand, he might be in for a jarring surprise. This revelation could make him question whether choosing this fighter after 13 months off was a grave error. Crawford has faced punches across various weight classes before, but none compared to the impact Israil Madrimov will deliver. This will force Crawford to alter his approach, drastically shifting to a more defensive strategy. He'll be aiming for a gritty victory, relying on jabs, constant movement, and clinching to secure a win through a decision.
At this point, I just think that Israel is very disciplined. He's a solid 154-pounder, younger, and he has similar tools as Terence Crawford. Maybe he has not been at the stage, but we're preparing him mentally to be ready, because it's not going to be an easy task.
That will not hold up against Mov, who over his lengthy amateur career frequently faced off against those cunning hit and not get hit point scoring fighters. Israil Madrimov has spent his entire career in the 154 pounds division. With a physique and punch-in power comparable to Canelo Alvarez, he might demonstrate that Crawford's success in the lighter weight classes 135, 140, and 147 will have no bearing on this matchup. Promoter Eddie Hearn envisions a knockout win for Madov against Crawford, a victory that could catapult the Uzbek fighter to stardom. This is Madov's Cinderella moment. Regrettably for Crawford, he's the seasoned lion that Israil Madrimov must conquer to claim his place in the limelight. All the meticulous planning by Crawford, his team, and his excellency Turki Alek, who are eagerly discussing potential Canelo matchups or other high-profile fights, could vanish in an instant on Saturday night under Mav's powerful fist. Crawford might be grounded in this fight and come to understand that he hasn't been dedicating himself to his career as he should. His once-a-year schedule has treated his career like a part-time job. This is how legendary fighters from the past, such as Sugar Ray Leonard and Oscar de la Hoya, unraveled toward the end of their careers. They fought infrequently, often taking long breaks between bouts, chasing after big paydays, and ultimately facing defeat. While many fans are confident that Crawford will once again secure an effortless victory, many don't share that view this time. Unlike the opponents Crawford has consistently outclassed over his 16-year career, Israil Madrimov is a genuine challenge.
It's very difficult, because he was a 140-pounder and he was great. He showed how great of a fighter he was at 140. He moved to 47 and did a lot of damage there. It's interesting to see how he's gonna react at 154 against a solid 154-pounder. I know a lot of people don't know who Israil Madrimov is, but it's understandable, and I totally understand the people that say, oh well, it's an easy fight for Crawford. I would probably be the same. I'll probably be in the same position as all these people if I didn't know who Israil Madrimov is. But I know who he is. I know his pedigree. As an amateur,
As Crawford gears up to move up a weight class for this anticipated clash with Israil Madrimov, takes the opport to offer his thoughts to the boxing press. Crawford delves into his views on the imminent match, his strategic vision for the future, and his guidance to Shaker Stevenson on how to brush off negative critiques. When questioned about his strategy to counter Madov's style, Crawford replied that he intended to address every facet of Madov's game. He recognized Israil Madrimov as a seasoned amateur with significant experience, even with just 11 professional bouts under his belt. Crawford pointed out that Madov's world champion status was well earned and that he commanded the same respect as any other adversary. He underscored that each opponent brings their own unique challenges to the ring.